In the ancient days when giants walked the earth, the very ground trembled beneath their mighty footsteps. These Nephilim, born of forbidden unions between angels and women, were not just towering figures of flesh and bone. They carried within them the fire of heaven and the shadow of rebellion. Their reign was marked by destruction, tyranny, and a darkness that seemed to swallow the light of the world. Yet their fate was sealed not by the hands of men, but by a silent judgment from above, one carried out by a divine force more ancient and formidable than any warrior. The heavens watched in solemn silence as these colossal beings, who once ruled like gods, began to turn against one another, consumed by a mysterious madness. Amidst the chaos, a figure moved with quiet purpose, not bearing sword or shield, but embodying the unwavering will of the Most High. This was Gabriel, the messenger whose role extended beyond heralding news. He was the chosen instrument of divine wrath, the only angel who wielded the power to bring an end to the Nephilim's tyranny. In the unfolding story of judgment and redemption, Gabriel's breath alone shattered mountains and hearts alike, proving that sometimes the greatest power lies not in violence, but in the silent decree of justice. As the earth healed from the scars left by these giants, the echoes of that celestial verdict continue to remind us that true authority rests with the one who judges with perfect wisdom and unwavering resolve. The forbidden origins, how the Nephilim were born of defiance. Long ago, before the earth was shaped by mortal hands, the boundaries between heaven and earth were held sacred and inviolate. The Watchers, angels appointed to watch over mankind, were created to guide and protect, yet their hearts grew heavy with temptation. They beheld the daughters of men, and in their longing, they crossed the sacred divide. Their descent was not merely a fall, but an act of defiance, a rebellion woven with lust and pride. These unions, unnatural and forbidden, birthed the Nephilim, giants whose very existence blurred the lines between the divine and the mortal. These were no ordinary beings. With the fire of heaven coursing through their veins and the shadow of rebellion darkening their souls, the Nephilim walked among men as towering kings and fierce tyrants. Their power was such that cities crumbled beneath their feet and rivers ran dry before their might. But with great power came great corruption. They taught humanity the arts of war, cruelty, and idolatry, raising altars stained with the bones of the innocent. Like the ancient titans spoken of in myth and legend, they challenged the order of creation itself, turning the earth into a battleground of darkness. The story of their origin serves as a solemn reminder that crossing the boundaries set by the divine leads not to glory, but to ruin. It teaches that knowledge and power without humility invite destruction, and that the seeds of rebellion, once sown, bear bitter fruit. Just as the Watchers fell for desire, so too can any soul stray when blinded by temptation. And yet, in this tale of darkness, a divine purpose quietly stirs, preparing for a judgment that would not come by human hands, but by the will of heaven itself. Heaven's silent verdict, why God did not strike directly. The heavens, once filled with light and harmony, now bore witness to the chaos wrought by the Nephilim. Yet, God's judgment did not come as a roaring storm or a consuming fire. Instead, it arrived in silence, like a shadow passing unseen, a quiet decree that shattered the mighty from within. For though the giants were beasts in flesh, their destruction would not be by the sword of men, but by a divine hand far older and more fearsome. This silent verdict was a merciful paradox. God refrained from direct wrath, not out of weakness, but wisdom. To strike openly might have invited further rebellion, yet to allow their destruction by their own hands would demonstrate the self-consuming nature of sin and pride. The Nephilim, born of defiance, were doomed to become instruments of their own demise. As recorded in ancient texts, such as the Book of Enoch, the command was clear. Destroy the children of the watchers from among men, cause them to go forth one against another, that they may destroy each other in battle. This divine strategy was neither capricious nor cruel, but a measured execution of justice that respected the laws of both heaven and earth. The lesson here is profound. Sometimes the most powerful judgment is that which turns a foe's strength against themselves. In life we see how unchecked pride and bitterness can corrode even the strongest bonds, causing destruction from within. The quiet judgment of God reminds us that vengeance is His alone, and that often the greatest battles are those waged in silence, beneath the surface, where only faith perceives. From this place of divine wisdom, the stage was set for the unfolding of a tragic and mysterious chapter in history, a chapter where the mightiest would fall, not by external enemies, but by the unseen hand of heaven's will, carried out by a force both gentle and terrible. This transition invites the story deeper into the unraveling of the Nephilim's downfall, leading naturally to the next part of the narrative. The madness begins, how the giants turned against one another. In the quiet moments before the storm, a strange and terrible madness took hold of the Nephilim. These giants, once united by blood and purpose, began to turn upon one another with uncontrollable fury. It was as if an invisible hand had stoked the fires of rage deep within their hearts, unraveling centuries of kinship and alliance. No longer did they see each other as brethren. Instead, suspicion, jealousy, and wrath became their closest companions. One chilling night in the plains of Edrei, two giant brothers, sons of Shamayaza, found themselves locked in a violent feud. The cause was a bitter claim over their father's favor, a prize they believed could secure their dominion. Words quickly gave way to bloodshed. The ground drank deep as one brother crushed the skull of the other beneath a boulder. Elsewhere in the valley of Archiel, 3 more Nephilim met their end, torn to pieces, not by the weapons of men, but by the hands of those they once called allies. Fires consumed cities from within, set ablaze by the madness that had taken root. This chaos was no mere coincidence, but a manifestation of divine design. The giants' hearts, once proud and defiant, became instruments of their own destruction. Their fury was amplified tenfold, blinding them to reason, turning brother against brother, friend against friend. The cries of their fathers, the fallen watchers bound beneath the earth, could do nothing but plead in vain, their mercy unheard. Here lies a timeless lesson. Unchecked anger and envy are forces that can dismantle even the mightiest empires. Like the Nephilim, relationships built on pride and rivalry are fragile, susceptible to decay from within. It is a warning to guard the heart, for the true battlefield often lies not outside, but deep inside, where silent wounds fester. The madness of the giants was the beginning of their end, a harbinger that even the greatest strength is powerless against the poison of internal strife. Macariel's last stand, the 12 Titans on Mount Hermon. Amid the wreckage of shattered alliances and burning cities, one Nephilim stood firm, Macariel, a Titan born of Serial and a Canaanite queen. Unlike his kin, who succumbed quickly to madness, Macariel sensed the encroaching doom with a clarity born of desperation. He gathered what remained, 12 Titans in total, on the summit of Mount Hermon, the very place where their fathers had first defied heaven. There, beneath the darkened sky, these last remnants of a fallen race raised their voices in defiance. Their cries shattered the silence, challenging the heavens themselves. "Who hunts us?" Macariel thundered. "Show yourself. We are sons of angels, gods among men." but no voice answered. Instead, the earth trembled, not with fear but with recognition. Among them, Arashta, a giantess whose courage once inspired armies, shivered as a chilling presence stirred at the mountain's base. From the shadows emerged a figure cloaked in silence and fire, neither fully man nor angel. He walked unarmed, unyielding, a storm wrapped in stillness. This was no warrior who sought parley or mercy. His presence ignited a rage so fierce it set the giants to tearing one another apart before he even reached the summit. One brother crushed his sister's skull, others impaled themselves on their own weapons, consumed by a frenzy beyond their control. Only Meriel, towering and defiant, remained standing amidst the carnage. Machariel's final stand is a stark testament to the futility of pride against divine will. Their gathering was not a last hope, but a final rebellion, a refusal to bow before the inevitable. The number 12, once sacred and whole, had been twisted into a symbol of downfall, a mirror of the 12 tribes of Israel now corrupted. This poignant scene reminds us that even the strongest alliances crumble when they stand opposed to justice and truth. From this moment, the story turns to the silent executioner, Gabriel, whose arrival would seal the fate of the Nephilim forever. The silent executioner, Gabriel, enters with no sword, no word. Into the desolation of Mount Hermon's summit stepped a figure unlike any the giants had ever known. Gabriel, the messenger of God, arrived not with the clash of swords or the roar of battle, but with a presence so profound it commanded awe and fear without uttering a single word. Clad in shadow and radiance, his face veiled like fire wrapped in silence, Gabriel was the embodiment of divine judgment itself. The Nephilim, who had boasted of their godlike power and immortal heritage, found their blood turned to ice at his approach. "Michael binds," whispered the winds, "but I end." Gabriel was no warrior of chains or defense. He was the relentless end, the sword of God wielded in quiet wrath. His steps stirred no dust, yet with each one the giant's fury ignited, turning brother against brother, madness consuming their last vestiges of reason. This moment is a profound reminder that true power often speaks not through noise, but through stillness. In our own lives, the quiet resolve of truth and justice can shatter walls stronger than any blade. Gabriel's arrival teaches us that divine authority transcends battle. It is the solemn enforcement of cosmic order, where mercy has been weighed and judgment pronounced. The final confrontation, Meriel's rage and Gabriel's breath. Among the chaos stood Meriel, a giant towering over 25 feet, eyes glowing like molten bronze, last sentinel of a fallen race. His voice, roaring with rage and anguish, pierced the stillness. "Why are we unworthy of life? We were born with power, but not with choice." His words echoed the eternal struggle of creation and rebellion, a cry that transcends time, the question of destiny versus free will. Gabriel answered not with fire or sword, but with a breath, a singular divine judgment that shattered the very body of Meriel. The giant, once stronger than mountains, crumbled to dust, swept away like ash on the wind. This was not mere death. It was the fulfillment of a sacred decree, the cleansing of earth from the stain of rebellion. This confrontation is a powerful lesson in humility and consequence. It reminds us that origin does not grant exemption from justice, and that power without righteousness is a path to ruin. The silent breath of Gabriel carries the weight of divine wisdom, teaching that the end of pride comes not through violence alone, but through the undeniable force of truth. From the ashes of this final moment, the earth would begin to heal, and the story of the Nephilim's fall would be whispered through the ages, as a warning a lesson, and a testament to the unyielding justice of heaven. Aftermath and legacy, when heaven judges without words. With the last of the Nephilim reduced to dust, a profound stillness settled over the earth. The skies, once darkened by their shadow, now shimmered with renewed light. Rivers, tainted by the chaos, ran clear and pure once more. Birds returned to sing in the forests that had long been silenced. Yet beneath the surface, the fallen watchers, those bound in darkness, wailed in despair, their cries rising from the depths but unanswered by heaven. "Why did you not hear our prayers?" they pleaded, but the heavens remained silent. This silence was not neglect, but decree. The judgment had been final, absolute, and irrevocable. Heaven had spoken once and for all. No plea would overturn the divine will. Gabriel, the silent executioner, had fulfilled his sacred duty with unwavering obedience. His name, whispered in secret scrolls and etched into forgotten stones, still chills the soul of those who remember. The legacy of this divine judgment endures as a solemn reminder that justice is often meted out not with noise and fury, but with quiet resolve. It teaches that rebellion, no matter how powerful, carries a price that must be paid. The tale of the Nephilim and Gabriel's role as their destroyer is more than history. It is a warning etched into the fabric of time. When heaven falls silent, it is because the decree has been made and the wheels of justice are set irrevocably in motion. In the quiet aftermath of a judgment so ancient, the earth itself seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. The once mighty Nephilim, towering giants born of forbidden unions and rebellion, were no more than whispers in the wind and shadows etched in forgotten stones. Their legacy, however, is far from erased. It lingers in the deepest corners of history, a haunting reminder of what happens when the boundaries between the divine and mortal are crossed, when pride turns to corruption and power forgets its purpose. This story is not simply about giants or angels. It is about the eternal struggle between light and darkness, obedience and rebellion, mercy and justice. As we reflect on the fall of the Nephilim, we are called to consider our own place in this vast cosmic tapestry. The silent hand of Gabriel, the messenger of God's final decree, teaches us that true justice is not always loud or immediate. Sometimes it moves quietly, shaping destinies and rewriting fates in ways unseen by the world. It reminds us that the forces of heaven are patient and purposeful, that the divine order will prevail, even when it seems hidden beneath layers of chaos. This story urges us to look inward, to guard against the creeping shadows of pride and defiance within our own hearts. It whispers a solemn warning. Unchecked desire and the thirst for power lead not to glory, but to ruin. Yet it also offers hope, that even in the face of judgment, the earth can heal, light can return, and life can flourish anew. The cleansing breath of Gabriel was both an end and a beginning, a closing chapter that opened the door to restoration. We live in a world still shaped by ancient truths and timeless lessons. The echoes of those days, when angels walked among men and giants ruled the earth, are still heard in the stories we tell, the scriptures we hold sacred, and the mysteries we seek to unravel. Understanding the fall of the Nephilim invites us to embrace humility, to recognize the limits of our power, and to place our trust in a justice greater than ourselves. As you carry this story with you, remember that every moment is a chance to choose the path of light over darkness, to resist the allure of rebellion, and to live with the wisdom that comes from surrendering to a higher purpose. The giants may have fallen, but their tale lives on, urging us toward a life of meaning and integrity. If this journey into the hidden chapters of heaven and earth has touched your heart, stirred your mind, or opened new doors of understanding, then please show your support by liking this video and subscribing to our channel. By doing so, you become part of a community seeking truth, inspired by stories that transcend time and speak to the soul. Together we explore the mysteries that shape our world and illuminate the path ahead. Remember, every like and subscription fuels the creation of more content that dives deep into the ancient secrets of angels, giants, and divine justice. It empowers us to bring light to the shadows and share knowledge that resonates across generations. Your engagement is more than a click. It is a commitment to uncovering the truths hidden in the silence between the stars. So stay with us as we continue to unravel the stories that the heavens have whispered through the ages. Let the lessons of the Nephilim and Gabriel inspire you to walk with courage, humility, and faith. For in understanding their fall, we find the keys to rising ourselves. Thank you for being here, for listening, and for joining this quest into the realms where history and legend intertwine. May the light of truth guide your steps, and may the silent justice of the divine always find a place in your heart.